Hello everyone, Dr. Alan Mandell here. Welcome back to my channel, Science of Healing. If you're noticing more hair in the shower drain, more strands on your pillow, or thinning areas that weren't there a few years ago, listen closely. Hair loss is not just cosmetic. It is often a signal, your body asking for nutritional support, better circulation, and cellular repair. Today, I want to talk about secret supplements. Not magic pills, not overnight fixes, but nutrients that science shows can slow hair fall, strengthen follicles, and visibly thicken hair over time when used correctly. Let's start with a truth most people never hear. Hair is not essential for survival. If you are watching this right now and you've noticed more hair on your pillow, more strands in the shower drain, or a thinning hairline that seems to be quietly retreating, understand this. Your hair is not simply falling out for no reason, and it is not betraying you. Hair loss is one of the earliest warning signals the human body sends when something deeper is wrong. Long before pain appears, long before disease is diagnosed, the body sacrifices hair to protect survival. This is not opinion. This is biology. Hair is a non-essential tissue. When nutrients, oxygen, or energy are limited, the body redirects resources away from hair follicles to preserve the heart, brain, liver, and immune system. That is why hair loss is so often the first visible sign that internal balance has been disrupted. Science shows that hair follicles are among the most metabolically active cells in the body. They divide rapidly, require constant oxygen, and depend on a steady supply of micronutrients. When that supply weakens even slightly, hair growth slows, follicles shrink, and shedding accelerates. Studies published in dermatology journals confirm that people experiencing diffuse hair thinning often have underlying deficiencies or systemic stress long before hair loss becomes obvious. Hair doesn't just fall out, it shuts down in stages quietly over months or years. One of the most shocking facts is this. You can have normal blood test results and still be nutritionally depleted at the follicle level. Standard lab ranges are designed to detect disease, not optimal function. Research shows that iron, vitamin D, zinc, and B vitamin levels that fall within normal limits may still be too low to support healthy hair growth. This explains why so many people are told everything looks fine while their hair continues to thin. The follicles are starving while the rest of the body is barely surviving. Circulation plays an equally critical role. Hair follicles require oxygen, and oxygen only reaches them through blood flow. Chronic stress, sedentary lifestyles, smoking, inflammation, and aging all reduce microcirculation to the scalp. When blood vessels constrict, follicles receive less oxygen and fewer nutrients. Over time, they miniaturize. This process is well documented in research on androgenic alopecia and age-related hair thinning. Reduced circulation doesn't cause sudden baldness. It causes slow, silent suffocation of the follicle. Stress is another hidden destroyer of hair. When stress hormones like cortisol remain elevated, the body shifts into survival mode. Hair growth is paused. Studies show chronic stress pushes follicles prematurely into the shedding phase known as telogen effluvium. This is why hair loss often follows emotional trauma, illness, surgery, or prolonged anxiety. The hair doesn't fall immediately. It falls months later, confusing people and masking the true cause. Stress leaves fingerprints long after the moment has passed. Inflammation is the quiet enemy few people talk about. Low-grade systemic inflammation damages the scalp environment, disrupts follicle signaling, and accelerates hair thinning. Research shows inflammatory markers are higher in individuals with hair loss conditions, even when no visible scalp disease exists. Inflammation tightens blood vessels, impairs nutrient delivery, and weakens the follicle's ability to anchor the hair shaft. Over time, hair becomes finer, weaker, and more likely to fall. Another uncomfortable truth is that aging itself changes how nutrients are absorbed. As we get older, stomach acid decreases, digestive efficiency declines, and nutrient absorption drops. You may be eating well, but your body may not be absorbing what it needs to maintain hair growth. This is why hair thinning becomes more common after 40. It is not just age, it is reduced nutrient delivery at the cellular level. Even calorie restriction and dieting play a role. Research shows rapid weight loss and low-protein diets trigger hair shedding because the body interprets restriction as famine. Protein is essential for keratin production, and when intake drops, hair growth halts. This is why hair loss is common after extreme dieting. The body is choosing survival over appearance. Here is what most people never hear. Hair loss is rarely caused by one single factor. It is the accumulation of deficiencies, stress, inflammation, and poor circulation over time. The body whispers before it screams. Hair loss is a whisper. Ignore it long enough, and deeper health problems often follow. This is why topical treatments alone fail. You cannot fix an internal problem externally. No oil, shampoo, or serum can override poor circulation, nutrient depletion, or hormonal imbalance. Research consistently shows that addressing internal health markers leads to better hair outcomes than surface-level solutions alone. When hair begins to thin, it is an invitation, not a punishment. It is the body asking for support. Restore nutrient levels, improve circulation, calm the nervous system, and reduce inflammation. And hair often responds, not overnight, not magically, but biologically. Hair regrowth follows the same rules as healing anywhere else in the body. Cells need oxygen, they need nutrients, they need time. Studies show that when deficiencies are corrected and stress is reduced, shedding slows first, growth resumes later, thickness returns last. This timeline is not failure. It is proof that the body is repairing itself in the correct order. Your hair is not just a reflection in the mirror. It is a report card from your physiology. When you listen early, the body is remarkably forgiving. When you ignore the signal, the message grows louder. Targeted supplements are not shortcuts, and they are not miracles, but science proves they can change the biological fate of a hair follicle when used correctly and consistently. Hair loss does not reverse because of hope or hype. It reverses when the internal environment that caused the loss is corrected. And this is where specific nutrients become powerful, because hair follicles are not passive structures. They are living, demanding, energy-hungry systems that respond directly to what you feed them. One of the most documented truths in hair research is that hair shedding slows before regrowth begins. This is critical to understand. Clinical studies show that when key deficiencies are corrected, excessive hair fall can decrease within weeks, even though visible regrowth may take months. This early reduction in shedding is not placebo. It is a biological response. The follicle senses improved conditions and stops abandoning the hair shaft prematurely. Take biotin, for example. Biotin is not a trend supplement. It is a cofactor in keratin infrastructure. Keratin is the protein scaffold that gives hair its strength and thickness. Research shows that biotin deficiency, even mild undiagnosed deficiency, leads to fragile hair that snaps, sheds, and thins. When biotin levels are restored, keratin production stabilizes, the hair shaft thickens, and breakage decreases. This is why people often notice stronger nails before they see thicker hair. The body repairs in layers. Zinc works differently, and its impact is just as profound. Zinc controls hair follicle cycling. Without adequate zinc, follicles get stuck in the resting and shedding phase. Dermatology studies show zinc supplementation can significantly reduce hair loss in individuals with chronic shedding disorders. Zinc also regulates oil glands around follicles, preventing the microinflammation that slowly suffocates hair roots. When zinc is low, hair doesn't just fall, it fails to regrow properly. Iron may be one of the most misunderstood factors in hair loss. Iron deficiency does not need to reach anemia to damage hair. Research shows ferritin, the iron storage protein, must be at higher levels for hair growth than for basic survival. When iron is low, oxygen delivery to the follicle drops. Hair growth is one of the first processes to shut down. This is why hair loss and fatigue often appear together. Restore iron levels appropriately, and studies show shedding slows and regrowth potential improves, especially in women. Vitamin D is another silent regulator. Hair follicles contain vitamin D receptors that control growth phase activation. When vitamin D is deficient, follicles shrink and remain dormant. Multiple studies have found significantly lower vitamin D levels in individuals with hair thinning and alopecia. Supplementation does not force growth. It reactivates the follicle's ability to respond to growth signals. This is a critical distinction. You are not pushing hair to grow, you are removing the block. Magnesium addresses a different but equally destructive pathway: stress. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, and cortisol directly disrupts hair growth cycles. Magnesium calms the nervous system, improves sleep quality, and enhances blood flow. Research shows magnesium deficiency increases inflammatory markers and vascular tension. When magnesium levels improve, circulation improves, and circulation is life to a follicle. Better blood flow means more oxygen, more nutrients, and a healthier growth environment. Omega-3 fatty acids target inflammation at its source. Chronic low-grade inflammation damages the scalp environment long before hair visibly thins. Studies show omega-3 supplementation reduces inflammatory cytokines and improves hair density and diameter over time. Omega-3s also improve scalp hydration, making hair less brittle and more resilient. This is why people often notice less dryness and breakage before they notice new growth. Here is the shocking truth most people are never told. Supplements do not fail, timelines do. Hair grows in cycles measured in months, not days. Research confirms that hair follicles need sustained improvement in nutrient availability to shift back into growth mode. When people quit after 4 weeks, they stop just as the follicle begins repairing itself. Consistency is not optional, it is the mechanism. Another critical factor is absorption. Studies show that taking supplements with food significantly increases bioavailability. Fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D require dietary fat. Minerals compete for absorption when taken incorrectly. This is why random supplementation produces inconsistent results. Targeted, informed use produces biological change. Supplements also work synergistically. Iron without vitamin C absorbs poorly. Vitamin D without magnesium cannot activate efficiently. Zinc without copper balance can backfire. The body is not a pharmacy shelf, it is a system. Research consistently shows better outcomes when deficiencies are corrected in balance rather than isolation. The most powerful effect of proper supplementation is not just regrowth, it is follicle preservation. Once a follicle fully miniaturizes and shuts down, recovery becomes far more difficult. Studies suggest early intervention dramatically improves outcomes. Slowing shedding today protects density tomorrow. This is why timing matters. And here's the part no one wants to hear. Supplements cannot overcome a lifestyle that constantly sabotages hair growth. Poor sleep, chronic stress, smoking, crash dieting, and inflammation can overpower even the best nutrient protocol. Research shows hair regrowth is strongest when supplementation is paired with stress reduction, adequate protein intake, and improved circulation. Hair responds to the total environment, not isolated actions. But when the environment is corrected, the response can be remarkable. Shedding slows, hair strands thicken, the scalp becomes healthier. New growth appears first as fine hairs, then gradually strengthens. This progression is documented, predictable, and repeatable. Hair regrowth is not about forcing the body. It is about removing the obstacles that stopped growth in the first place. Supplements do not create something unnatural. They restore what was missing. The science is clear. When targeted nutrients are used correctly, consistently, and patiently, hair loss can slow, follicles can strengthen, and thickness can return. Not because of promises, but because biology responds to support. Hair loss is not permanent by default. It becomes permanent when the body is ignored. And when you finally give the body what it has been asking for, it remembers how to grow again. Most people don't fail at hair regrowth because supplements don't work. They fail because biology does not negotiate with impatience. Hair restoration is not a product problem. It is a consistency problem. And science is brutally honest about this. Every hair follicle operates on a fixed growth cycle, measured in months, not motivation. You cannot rush a cell that divides on its own timetable. When people quit early, they are not stopping failure. They are stopping success mid-process. Research shows that human hair grows in 3 phases: growth, rest, and shedding. Once a follicle enters the resting phase, no supplement, oil, or treatment can instantly pull it back. The follicle must complete its cycle before it can re-enter growth. This is why clinical trials on hair regrowth rarely measure results before 3 to 6 months. Anything promising faster is not science, it's marketing. The body does not respond to urgency, it responds to repetition. Consistency is what signals safety to the body. When nutrients arrive daily, when sleep improves nightly, when stress hormones remain low long enough, the body stops panicking. Studies show chronic inconsistency keeps the body in survival mode, and survival mode shuts down hair growth. From an evolutionary standpoint, growing hair during perceived danger is a waste of energy. The body must feel stable before it allows hair to thrive. One of the most overlooked facts in hair science is that shedding slowing down is the first real win. Research confirms that when internal conditions improve, follicles stop ejecting hair shafts prematurely. This can happen weeks before new growth appears. People misinterpret this silence as failure, when it is actually repair. Less hair in the drain means follicles are holding on. That is biology choosing preservation. Patience is not passive. It is active trust in the process the body follows every time it heals. Bone fractures don't heal overnight. Muscle doesn't grow after one workout. Hair follicles are no different. Studies on nutrient repletion show that cells prioritize repair before regeneration. First comes stabilization, then rebuilding. Growth is always last. This order is non-negotiable. Lifestyle support is where most regrowth journeys collapse. Research shows sleep deprivation alone can significantly reduce hair growth rate by elevating cortisol and inflammatory markers. One poor night won't destroy hair, but months of fragmented sleep will. The follicle reads sleep debt as stress. Stress tells the follicle to shut down. This is why hair loss often accelerates during burnout periods, even when diet hasn't changed. Stress reduction is not optional for hair, it is foundational. Cortisol directly interferes with hair follicle stem cells. Animal and human studies confirm that high cortisol shortens the growth phase and accelerates shedding. Magnesium, breathing, movement, and nervous system regulation are not extras. They are biological levers. Calm the system, and follicles receive the signal to re-enter growth. Protein intake is another non-negotiable. Hair is made of keratin, and keratin is protein. Research shows inadequate protein intake forces the body to ration amino acids for vital organs. Hair is not considered vital. This is why restrictive diets trigger hair loss months later. The delay hides the cause. By the time hair falls, the damage is already done. Restoration requires sustained protein availability, not occasional effort. Hydration matters more than people realize. Dehydration thickens blood and reduces nutrient delivery to peripheral tissues like the scalp. Studies show reduced plasma volume decreases microcirculation. Poor circulation equals poor follicle nourishment. Hair growth is not just about what you take, it's about what reaches the follicle. Consistency also applies to timing. Supplements taken sporadically send mixed signals. Research shows regular daily intake produces stable blood levels, while inconsistent dosing creates peaks and crashes the body cannot rely on. The follicle responds to patterns, not promises. Show up daily and the biology listens. One of the most shocking truths is that many people abandon regrowth protocols just as dormant follicles begin waking up. Early regrowth often appears as fine, soft hairs that are easy to miss or dismiss. Studies confirm these hairs thicken over time if support continues. Stop early and those follicles retreat again. Hair regrowth is reversible both ways. Progress requires protection. Age does not eliminate regrowth potential. It slows timelines. Research shows older follicles can still respond when circulation, nutrients, and inflammation are addressed. What changes with age is recovery speed, not capability. Expecting youthful timelines creates unnecessary disappointment. Biology adjusts, but it does not quit. Another uncomfortable fact is that hair regrowth exposes lifestyle truth. Supplements cannot override smoking, chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, or severe stress. Studies show hair outcomes improve most when multiple systems improve together. Hair responds to the sum of your habits, not isolated efforts. But when alignment happens, the body rewards patience. Shedding decreases, texture improves, density stabilizes, new growth appears where loss once seemed permanent. These changes are not dramatic day to day, but over months they become undeniable. This is how real biological change looks: quiet, gradual, lasting. Consistency is not exciting. It does not sell well, but it is how every documented case of hair recovery actually works. The people who succeed are not luckier, they are steadier. They respect timelines. They stop interrupting the process. Hair regrowth is not about doing more. It is about doing enough, long enough. The body remembers how to grow hair. It only forgets when support disappears too soon. Patience is not waiting without action. Patience is continuing when nothing seems to be happening. And when the mirror finally changes, it never feels sudden. It feels earned.